I have a theory that Kylie Cosmetics is about to go bankrupt and Kylie Jenner is scrambling to find a new way to make money. And I actually have a few pieces of evidence that support this theory because in the past 2 months, she has out of nowhere launched 3 businesses. Kai, that leather thing that everybody ended up hating and returning.
I had to return mine.
Yeah. A fragrance that I literally do not know a single person that has bought. And now recently, a vodka seltzer thing that is also not performing well. And again, don't know anybody who's bought it. And it's interesting because the Kardashian strategy has always been like, you do 100 things until one of them works. And then you do that thing and you ride it. Like you think of Kim, right?
Yeah.
In the past has had KKW
Dash.
She's had Dash. She had a credit card at one point. There was a mobile app, but she finds Skims. She rides the wave, right? They're very good at like Kendall with 818. You see how they find something. If it works, they ride it. So when I see one of them planting all these seeds again, to me, it's like, oh, it's because whatever the wave they were riding before is about to come crashing down. Not only that, this week, a story came out that she listed her house, like one of the mansions that she sold, she'd been trying to sell it for over a year. It wasn't selling, so she just cut the price in half.
Oh,
like half of what it's worth. And I'm like, see, somebody who has hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank is not behaving this way, is not worried about property taxes.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. So this video came about inspired by Be Better, who made a TikTok talking about the downfall of Kylie Jenner. And what really is fascinating to me is looking at her businesses now to where she was in 2015 to 2017, where it felt like anything she touched turned to gold, right? I remember these times where
I remember she posted this one new artist on her Snap story, a 15-second clip. His name was Nav, N-A-V, and he jumped up on the Billboard charts and had an entire career signed to The Weeknd because of a 15-second clip Kylie posted on her Snap story of her walking by the pool. She wasn't even in the video.
I remember stuff like this would happen all the time, or there would be a bathing suit and it would just sell out the next day. And it's fascinating to me to think about this from two perspectives. One, when did this Kardashian magic die? I think is a really interesting thing. And going through the research of these businesses, I think you actually can kind of start to see a clear point of when this started to wear off and when it stopped working. And two, also why? How can somebody who, is claimed to have this billionaire status, made all this money, has 400 million followers on Instagram, how can that person be hemorrhaging money in businesses? And I mean, you even look at Kylie Cosmetics, it has had decreasing revenue every single year for the past 7 years, and now makes even less money a year than our last job. I remember looking at the revenue statements from our last job. Keep in mind, our last job laid off 40% of its staff in 2 years because of how bad it's struggling. So if Kylie Cosmetics is making even less money than that, I think something is happening behind the scenes that we don't know about. So that is kind of the case study of today's episode. Welcome back to the Share Your Screen podcast. Hi, my name's Nikki.
Hi, I'm Coco.
And we're so excited to be back. We had a very unfortunate circumstance.
A series of unfortunate events.
Yeah, you give it to them.
We worked really hard on this episode. We even went to this one headquarter. We love filming with them. And by no fault of literally anyone, the files were corrupted. I'll send Nikki a screenshot. We looked like gray demons.
I know. It's we send it to each other as a meme now.
Yeah,
of
it's a
how
meme.
Scary we look.
New meme unlocked. And on top of that, 35 minutes of the episode went missing. The power went out in the building. It was just a series of unfortunate events. And then on top of that, in order to catch the wave of the Ariana Grande album coming out, I released the Ariana Grande perfume episode a few days before. So I think it just felt, at least to me, this long period. And I love filming with Nikki. I love talking to you guys. Yeah. And we're just so happy to be back.
We are so happy to be back.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to be in a thing that's ours and controlled, at
exactly.
the end of the day. It feels good to be in our studio. And I love that.
Yeah, I agree.
So diving into Kylie, I really think it's important to look at it chronologically too, because the start of this business was immaculate. I mean, it was I also think the Kardashians now we've seen this really, really big wave of celebrity businesses, but the Kardashians really set that all into motion. I feel like it felt like everybody for a while was trying to get their Kylie lip kit.
Oh, 100.
And this all started when she was still a teenager at 17 years old. This is still when Keeping Up was airing. And Kylie had really, I guess, she was the it girl. Like, I really, honestly, if I were to think of somebody who like defines the concept of an it girl in the social media age, I think you say it's Kylie Jenner. She's the first, like, she was kind of just young and beautiful and was just doing life, and like people wanted her life. And that's kind of how she spawned, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, like, I think of, like, you think of the King Kylie Coachella eras and stuff. Like, even before she was really a figure, like, there was this intrigue about her that really drew people in very early on, especially this young audience. And I think that's why she really benefited on being a major show like Keeping Up, where there was this mass audience. But because she was the youngest person of the five, I think this, like, Gen Z really identified with her in a way at the time, because she was the only one who was like still a teenager.
Yeah, and she was the only sister out of all of them who have ever had their own spin-off show that wasn't just like,
interesting, I didn't know that,
Kim and Khloe take Miami. It was like the Kylie Jenner show, and it was just about her. Yeah, she's the only one.
So that, and again, I think that adds to it, right?
Yeah.
Because I think, and also I think it shows that the network knew that. They knew that there was like something about her being the youngest, and like that was like really interesting to people.
Yeah.
So this all starts, and again, like, you think of early on, like, what was Kylie Jenner really known for? Her lips. Like, I remember the obsession with Kylie Jenner's lips and like how big they were. You think the Kardashians have always been very good at this, of like kind of using the obsession with women's bodies to their advantage, right? Like, Kim's whole thing is her butt.
Yeah.
That's what she was shamed for. Then she, you know, like, obviously there's like the sex tape, but then like, what is one of her most famous moments of all time? You think of that Paper magazine shoot where she's popping the champagne on her butt.
And
like,
said, break the internet.
Their whole shtick is like, they know how to turn lemons into lemonade.
Yeah.
They know how, if somebody dislikes something about that's going to make some people always talk about that thing about them. And then they want to weaponize that attention to like profit off of, which is really where Kylie's lip kit came from. Like, it is her version of that. People were obsessed with the lips, so it starts this Kylie Jenner lip challenge, which was such an iconic moment. The Kylie Jenner lip challenge was such an iconic era of the internet, and it makes me so sad we don't get these like mass, every single person you know is trying a stupid trend at once evermore.
I think because it was like a public health crisis.
But
like
where's the
cinnamon
ALS Ice Bucket Challenge?
Why aren't people eating Tide Pods anymore? No, I'm just kidding. I take that.
Why aren't the cinnamon challenge?
And I remember the Kylie lip challenge was peak Vine, and it was a challenge that you could show in less than 7 seconds, and it was like boom. It was very visual. It didn't rely on a language. So I think that was why it went viral on Vine.
And going back to this concept of like really being the first person to define the concept of it girl in a digital age. Yeah. I can't think of a young celebrity who is like going viral on Vine like that. You know what I mean? Like, Kylie was good at that. Yeah. And so this blew up. Kylie Jenner lip challenge comes up, and she did really popularize this trend in makeup of overlining your lips and filling it in. Yeah. Like, that is obviously something that people have been doing for years and years and years. But I feel like she was like a celebrity who was like known for it. Yeah. It was like her signature look. So the idea of making a lip kit, like something where the actual lip liner and lipstick are formulated to be exactly the same to do this very specific makeup trend that she was known for, is a fantastic idea. Yeah. It is the definition of looking at a viral moment and being like, how can I add value as the owner of this, right? You have the money and resources to start a beauty brand. You've been doing this trend. People are known for looking at you for makeup, magazines, etc. It's truly like a beautiful match. And that's also what interests me as to like why this doesn't work anymore, right? Yeah. Because like on paper at the beginning, it was such a good business. And I think that there's a few pieces of criticism that really come in early on as to why. The first being that it ends up coming out that she had filler. And a big back of the business. Again, nothing wrong with getting plastic surgery. I don't understand why there's like some obsession of like criticizing people of like, you're not real or whatever. I think the problem is that she framed it as like my lips look like this
It's
because
natural.
I do this thing.
Yeah.
And when she found out it's like, no, like you're getting filler every 6
Yeah.
months, then it's like that your lips don't look like that for that reason.
It's essentially like taking like a Nissan Altima car and like unscrewing the logo and like putting a Porsche thing on and being like, it's a Porsche. And you're like, there's nothing wrong with the Nissan Altima. I'll drive, but
Right.
just tell me it was a Nissan Altima.
Right.
That's okay.
Right, exactly. And I think that was the first
Crack.
crack
Yeah.
for Kylie and this plague of mistrust. Because I think that's really where this business starts to crumble, is she starts to trade trust word with her community. Like at the end of the day, when you're a celebrity, you're a creator, or anything, you are only as good as your word. Like your word is really your essentially a form of currency, right? Like if X amount of people believe you when you endorse a product, then brand is willing to pay you Y amount of dollars for that reason. But the second that X amount of people don't trust you anymore, then that Y amount of dollars is going to go down too.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, a really interesting like consistency you'll see throughout all of this. Also, something I think that's interesting to talk about, and we've talked about in the beginning of like, I think was one of the very big mistakes she made early on was that it was a bad idea to name the brand off of her name.
Yes.
And this is something you've talked about before, and I would love for you to like give your theory on like why celebrities should never base a brand off their name.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we saw Rihanna learn from it, and like Selena, Rare Beauty, no one really launches things named after their names anymore, and it's because no matter how big of a celebrity you are, you really can't, and you almost don't want to maintain a certain level of fame for a long amount of time. It's just not sustainable for even the Kardashians. It just, at any given time in the Kardashians, one of the sisters is more famous than the others. It's like the only reason they've been able to maintain this is because there's 6 people on the bench being waited like to rotate in, put me in, coach. Yeah. Any other celebrity too, like it's hard for them to maintain, let alone one person. And also you have fluctuations in popularity and people make mistakes and whatever. And I think that when you attach your name to a product, it's reliant on a resource that you cannot control. And also, if you ever, which we're going to probably get into with her selling it, when you sell the brand, it cannot be sustained anymore if it was based on one person's name.
Yes, that is a big one. I also think too, it's the whole point of starting a product as a celebrity is you want to be able to like bridge your way into audiences of people who don't know you.
Yes.
Because there's always going to be a certain percent of people who already do and will buy it no matter what. And when I think of really good businesses, or just like ones that have been successful, like even like I remember for years, I had no idea that Casamigos was owned by George Clooney.
Yeah, because he doesn't advertise it.
No idea. And I was like, and like, we can, granted, I think it's like a little weird that like a white man and a lot of white people are doing tequila companies. But like, just from like a raw like standpoint of like, oh, it was fascinating. And like, that's why something like that works.
Yeah.
Right? Because honestly, if it was George Clooney tequila, I probably wouldn't have bought it.
Right.
I probably would have never bought it.
Yeah.
And they know that. And that's why they do it. So that's another one. Or even I was thinking about like Margot Robbie's entertainment company, like where
Lucky
Chap is like, she could call it Margot Robbie Productions and, you know, slap it onto every project that she's a movie for, or like as like a leading role in. But I think she understands that like this, especially in acting, like you have a shelf life most of the time. And one day she wants to be able to retreat into just making films, not having to star in them all the time.
Yeah.
And she can just be the CEO of Lucky Chap, not Margot Robbie anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that is like a really interesting thing that happens.
Yeah.
So going to what you said too about like once you sell it too, it's weird. So this is what happens with Kylie Cosmetics. She was at the same time trying to sell her company to Coty, C-O-T-Y.
Yes.
They're like a conglomerate and they own a bunch of beauty brands on top of other things. And she was going through the process of being reviewed for the Forbes Billionaire List. And this is where it gets crazy.
This tea will never go stale.
Ever.
Ever.
And it's like so crazy that it wasn't like, I don't remember this being a big deal when it came out that she lied about being a billionaire.
I think I remember being a big deal because I've been a fan of Kylie for a long time. And I remember it breaking and then her even tweeting at Forbes and like kind of bashing them. But obviously they didn't like feel that negatively about Forbes retracting because like Kendall Jenner was just on the Forbes list. So they're like still kind of doing this tap dance with them.
Exactly.
They need the media.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like what they built their entire like foundation on. But so what happens is she is getting like interviewed for like the Billionaires List, which you showed me this incredible podcast. What was the name of it?
Infamous.
We're gonna put the episode on screen where they actually interview the like Forbes reporter who literally they show unreleased footage of you hearing Kylie and Kris talk about the company.
Yeah, like voice memos of the girl recording
literally
the
voice
call.
memos. It's an incredible episode. I literally watched it on the drive here. Like you should check it out. She is trying to get made billionaire status. And the biggest thing that they are showing in this is like receipts, I say in quotation marks, from Kylie Cosmetics as like this company has made her a billionaire. At the same time, she's trying to sell 51% of her stake in this company. So what really happened is Kylie and Kris inflated the numbers to Forbes so that it looks like the business was bringing in more money. Therefore, they name her as a billionaire, and these people buying her company think, oh, wow, this is a company worth $1.2 billion. That was the valuation they gave it. So for 51%, they paid her $600 million. It then comes out once they've acquired the company and look at the financials that the entire company, 100% of it, is only worth $400 million, which means they paid $200 million extra for only half, like not even a controlling,
and
like,
a company that was devaluing as well every year that they had it.
Yes. So this is like her cashing out.
Yes.
It is her cashing out. And
jumping ship.
It's also interesting too when things like this happen because it's still Kylie Cosmetics and every advertising, she's like a creative director kind of, but also you can very clearly tell how little
she cares. Yeah.
And even when you listen to this interview, like I really encourage you to listen to this episode. Like anytime they ask anything, Kylie doesn't answer, Kris does, which is understandable. And so, I mean, it's a manager, so I get that. But there's an odd feeling about it.
But then they should have put Kris as the billionaire, not Kylie, because it was clear that Kylie was not the one making the decisions.
Because, Kris is only getting 10%.
Yeah,
whatever.
true.
So it's like based on the money that they have.
Yeah.
And like it's like in the things that it seems like when Kylie's describing like her involvement in the business, what it very much feels like is like she gets a team curates like 5 options and presents them to her and she picks yes or no.
Right.
That's like what the vibe is. So I think that you really see how it's like, why would a consumer want to spend makeup's not a cheap product on Kylie Cosmetics that is no longer owned by Kylie, managed by Kylie. It just breaks the entire point of why the business was founded.
Yeah, and also like to the Cody thing that was so interesting in this infamous podcast. One, Cody was the whistleblower that Forbes then went and looked into this. And basically what Cody did is a couple, I believe, months or maybe a year after they acquired Kylie Cosmetics, they basically came out and publicly said, allegedly, I'm paraphrasing, that we do not believe that the numbers are matching what Kylie and Kris told us when we bought it.
Yeah.
And we were sold a product that was not valued at what it should have been. And Cody was wrong in that they used Forbes almost as like a, like when you buy a house, you have like a third party inspector that doesn't have a horse in the race looking for mold and the wood, falling. Right. They kind of used Forbes as a way to like go in and test the waters and see if this was a legitimate business. And also what was really interesting, if you guys listen to this podcast, what fascinated me the most, and I believe the journalist even talks about this, is that Kylie, I think I always see her as this cool girl, very confident. And it honestly kind of made me feel for her in a way where you almost saw this, even through just the audio, this facade of someone who was maybe very self-conscious, almost like she seemed very timid and like very mentally young. Like it was almost listening to the podcast, and I'm sure she was like 19 or 20 when she did it, it almost felt like the way that I talked to my little sister, like someone who didn't seem that like understanding of what even was happening. And like the invoice thing with Kris Jenner.
I know, it's crazy.
Just crazy.
Well, I do think at the time she was 19.
Yeah.
And I also, I don't know. I mean, I was like, this is like such a weird thing. It's like so common where I think people expect these like famous people to, a lot of times they, just because somebody's famous, they expect them to have this like magnificent personality.
Bravado.
Yeah. And oftentimes that's not true. It's like sometimes even the complete opposite end. I mean, I think we can even tell from like interactions we've had with people where they're so sheltered. Yeah. That it's like, you're like, whoa, it's actually like, you don't know how to interact with a person.
Yeah.
Like, it's like genuinely like a lack of like consistent social dynamic.
Right.
And it was kind of giving that for me listening to it. But again, also she's 19. So I don't like, I feel bad like speculating on
but I mean,
that.
but I mean, not like, I'm not even speculating on like anything. I'm just saying like in the interview, she just seemed timid.
Yes. That
not
is
that
an
it's
objective
saying
fact.
anything.
That is an objective fact.
Just
she
that
was
she
being
seemed
timid.
timid.
I meant more, I'm speaking to like personalities as a whole.
Oh,
like, I'm talking about conceptually. I'm not trying to say every person who's famous is like secretly evil.
No, and I think too, like the interview, also the reason that stood out to me is because the whole point of that Forbes interview was to go in and they had been trying to get Kylie on the billionaire list for years at this point. Yeah. The journalist says Kris had been reaching out to them, and they finally were like, all right, let's go in and look at the numbers. The whole point of that interview was Forbes. It was to verify numbers. And the whole time they'd be like, okay, do you have like the invoice of how many units you bought for like the first launch? You know, because if someone says something sells out, but they only had 500 units, it's not that impressive. So the journalist was trying to say, okay, so how many units did you actually have? And Kris Jenner's like, what? We don't have an invoice. I don't just have it on me. Yeah. That's like going to the accountant to do taxes, and they're like, "Where's your W-2?" And you're like, "Why would I have a W-2 on me?"
Yeah, wait, you need my pay stubs?
Yeah,
like,
that's the whole point of the interview.
That's what you made the appointment for. Yeah,
exactly. So it was interesting.
I mean, I think it's a lot of that is weaponized deflection.
Yes,
where it's like trying to make the other person feel weird for asking when it's things that she knows she can't answer.
Right.
Because going back to, thank you for reminding me, when Kylie Jenner first launched Kylie lip kit, they use this strategy, which is very common in business, but where you order a very low amount of units so that you sell out instantly.
Yeah.
So it's like you people are like, oh my God, Kylie Jenner sold out in 3 minutes. It's like, well, there's only 5,000 units.
Yes.
And she has an audience of 400 million people.
Right.
So of course it sold out instantly. It's not that she has like some crazy conversion metric that nobody else has.
Yeah.
It's that there was so little available.
A lot of influencers do it.
Yeah. And again, it's not a terrible strategy. It's actually smart. It makes something feel exclusive. It makes things feel time sensitive. And especially for not someone like a Kylie Jenner size, because she has the money and family connections to do it. But for someone who is a small business, it makes sense to be like, let me just order 1,000 of this and see how much I can sell before I like get an entire warehouse. You know what I mean? So, but again, I think that's why they didn't want to show those receipts and stuff. Because I think she was maybe doing that for longer than we think.
Yeah.
Or was like really using that to build hype and was not actually, again, selling quantity to be a billionaire. To be a billionaire, you got to get quantity.
And it's a shame because Kylie really did achieve something great. The reason we're still talking about celebrity makeup brands is because of what Kylie Jenner did in 2015. And like this whole thing undermines what she actually did achieve. And it's really upsetting that like they let this happen.
Yeah.
It kind of takes the rug out of something that she should be celebrated for.
Like they lost the plot, dude.
Like, exactly.
Because
it's a shame.
I always say the best businesses are founded out of, I have a problem. No one else is solving this problem. Therefore, I will create the product that is the solution. Like Kylie Jenner, simple. She did that little lip liner, overlining your lips and matching lipstick. And she's like, it's really frustrating that brands don't make lip liners and lipsticks in the exact same shade and the exact same like matte that I want. Therefore, I will make my own lip kit. Yeah. That's a good idea.
And it worked.
And it works, right? But like over time, this is another thing with Kylie. What else was she... How was she building off that? That's another, like, it starts as a lip kit. It makes sense. It's one product. Then it's blush. Then it's all these other makeup products. Now it's just a brand. It has really just become a makeup brand. It lost the magic of like solving a problem or doing something that felt interesting or having some sort of like ethos or vision. Like at the very, like I think of something like a Fenty. Like Fenty has scaled to being international. It's now in China. It's now in India. It's as big of a makeup conglomerate as Elf or anything else you can think of. But it was really founded off of this mission of being based in diversity.
Yes.
Like when it started, it had by far the most amount of shade ranges. Through every product they've ever launched, they have maintained that ethos of like, this is finally, I think their slogan is literally a beauty product for everyone. And that has like been, and you see now how they're very successful, getting into these international audiences where it's not all white people.
Yes.
And like, that is a strength of their business,
Right.
So like, that's when I compare what happened with, it's like this downfall of Kylie to this like rise of someone like a Rihanna is like, Kylie never had a vision, I don't
Right.
think. There was no plot. There was no storyline for an audience to grasp onto.
Yeah.
And once these scandals start to come out of her like taking these paychecks to cash out, I think that's when like the castle starts to crumble, where it's like, okay, well, now I don't really trust you. The product is really your name, just your name that's like not really yours anymore. And it's no longer unique and interesting. So why would I buy it? And this is what starts to happen year over year, every single year. So I also think it's really interesting. We've talked about this like downfall of the Kardashians in other episodes. I always talk about how like I think all just like media consumption really parallels what's going on in society. Like we want to consume things that make us feel comfortable, and things that make us feel comfortable in entertainment changes based on the circumstances of our life. So when I think about this 2010s, you see this like boom of reality TV, right? We just came out of the 2008 recession. The economy is just bouncing back. There's now this like better sense of like American nationalism and pride and feeling like like the country's healing. The
Captain
Obama
America,
administration. Yes, the Marvel
Avengers,
movies.
yeah.
There's like change. Obama's whole slogan was change. And like because of that, it was, very optimist. So I think we saw this like glamorization of wealth. It was think of every influencer in 2015, like
Jake Paul
buying their friend a Lamborghini, Team 10 owning a mansion, those off-white belts, every Paris Hilton, Kylie Jenner, Kardashians, like all these people were so famous for glamorizing this like aspirational lifestyle. Aspiration was very, very in.
And the rise of shows like The Apprentice and Shark Tank, I think, align 100% with that.
Exactly.
Reaching their peak.
Yeah. And I think it's not a coincidence when all these things happen at the same time.
Right.
Like I really think it is a symptom of what's going on in society. And the Kardashians really benefited off of that. Their whole thing is selling this aspiration, like was funny to see Kim Kardashian crying on a private jet about her issues. But then as we get into, one, these people selling expensive things and lying about it.
Yeah.
And then two, as we start to get to 2020, when pandemic hits and society really starts to fall apart, this glamorization of wealth is not cute anymore.
No.
It's like this stark contrast of like, okay, you're a billionaire and you're trying to sell me makeup for $50 and I don't know if I'm going to be able to go to work next week.
Right.
And I'm like scared to leave my house. And like all of this stuff is happening. So, and I think the one not criticism, I mean, there's many criticisms of the Kardashians, but like the one flaw of the Kardashians, they're genius business owners, but they're so out of touch that it hurts them sometimes.
Yes.
And you see it I think they're very, very in tune with like trending culture and what people, they always know how somebody's going to respond to what they do. It's like the genius of like Kim Kardashian again. Like, she releases a nipple bra. Like she knows what they're going to say about her. But this was like the first time I think they couldn't grasp how to like handle that because they've never lived it.
I know. And I also think too, the rise of TikTok changed the way that we view celebrities because people realize that someone in their own bedroom is way more entertaining than someone with a camera crew of 5 people, a boom mic, a studio lighting, 3 people writing a script for them to go about their daily lives. Like, I think it kind of broke this illusion that like they were the epitome of entertainment. And you see that in the Kardashians Hulu show.
Yes.
A snooze fest.
And the Hulu show is another great example of another thing that has diminishing viewership.
Yeah.
Like talking about the way the Kardashian like magic has dissipated.
Yeah.
Is that a great example. And I also think too, like we really entered this era of like authenticity over aspiration when it came to what we wanted to consume. Like we started to love these underdog stories. We loved this idea of like these creators in these bedrooms, these kids. You hear about like the Charli D'Amelio's, the Khaby Lames, the even like tube girls and stuff
Yeah.
like the internet started to really romanticize these underdog stories. Like one person from a random place they've never been, doing a random thing, somehow finding success and like wanting to support that and see somebody get to this grand stage became like the new cool thing, as opposed to like, I already have all this wealth and let me show it to you.
Yeah.
So that shift really, I think, messed with the Kardashians. Also, we get the entering of like, by now, every celebrity business. It's like, this is the era of celebrity businesses. That's what we're in. It's now like this entire business model has shifted from like, how do we make a product and convince people to buy the product? And now businesses are like, how do we build an audience and then convince an audience that we have something we can sell too? And like, that's what you think of the Hailey Biebers. You think of the Selena Gomez's. You think of Rihanna's. Like, and when I think about all these businesses, they have the magic that Kylie Jenner had in the beginning, right? For Rihanna, it's beauty for all. For I think there's such an interesting comparison to like Hailey Bieber to Kylie Jenner and her at like Kylie Jenner's peak, where she got famous for a very specific trend. Lips. For Hailey Bieber, it's clean girl, right? So what do they do? They start a brand based off that trend. Hailey Bieber, Rhode, very clean, very aesthetic, not heavy pigmented makeup. Kylie Jenner, lip kit. And what's interesting is Kylie Jenner, like after this sort of like trend like died and dissipated, never had anything else. And that's why I'm really interested to see what happens with like Hailey in 3 to 5 years, because she's in a very similar position where she's the it girl right now. But that never lasts forever. There's always a new one. And I'm like, okay, if she wants longevity in this, she needs to coin something that's beyond like just clean girl, because that will go out of style and like trends one day. And then why would somebody want to buy Rhode?
Right.
You know? So like, that's something I'm even thinking about too, as this starts to scale. And last, I just wanted to talk about the businesses that she's trying to have now, like circling back to where she's struggling. So like, clearly, again, we've talked about how Kylie Cosmetics is losing money every single year. And I was looking at, I remember the reviews of Kai being terrible.
I have a personal anecdote.
Please.
Okay, so I was so excited for Kai. As you guys know, I'm a fan of Kylie Jenner. I don't know why. I loved her. Like, and me and her were always like kind of the same age. I think she's maybe a year younger than me. And so I always wanted to like support her businesses and stuff. I love supporting an underdog small business. But no,
That's
so
right. She really needs your $50.
I know. And so I like when she announced Kai, I thought the marketing was genius. It was so mysterious. I actually think that might have happened on accident, where like she started the Instagram account and then people didn't know what it was. And anyways, it was really genius. And so the day that it came out, I bought a like pleather jacket and then these like pleather leggings. And the leggings were super expensive. I want to say they were like $80. And I tried them on. Mind you, I'm like a large, but I got an XL just to be like, okay, let's like just give me a little give, you know? They barely went over my knees. Like it literally barely went up. Maybe it was a me problem, but I was like, this is very odd. And I literally have a pair of $12 Wild Fable Target pleather leggings that I got like 5 years ago that I still wear to this day, that are way better quality than the $80 Kylie leggings.
I remember what I heard.
just send it back.
Every video was like talking about the quality
and
was
like
how
so
bad
weird.
it was.
Yeah, it's like the fits were like, it almost felt like they like got the numbers wrong or something.
I
like
think
the
it's
fits
just
were
not
odd.
thought out. This is what I'm saying. It's not thought out, because after that she did Kai.
She did Kylie Swim at one point.
Then
Kylie Swim.
Where's that? She did Kylie Baby at one point. Where's that? Oh, there's a perfume, which also I heard flopped. I saw 1 or 2 reviews of it, but barely any.
Well, and here's the thing about Cosmic. So many people were like, this perfume smells so good. But now, and we did an episode on perfumes, to compete in the perfume space, you have to offer more than smelling good. There's a million perfumes that smell good. You have to bring something else.
Right.
And
like
I don't think it brought
smelling good
that.
is the criteria.
That's like aiming low.
Yes. It literally. It's like a restaurant. It's like you can't, like, you have to do
sell
more than
food.
just serve. Like you have to do more than just serve food. You have to have an atmosphere. You have to have a theme. You have to have, and then this most recent one, which is Sprinter, which is like a vodka soda thing, seltzer. I don't know what it is.
I don't even know where the name comes. Like, huh?
Me neither. None of them are good. And I was looking specifically at Sprinter because I was so curious. One, I also think it's like, again, you can tell she's struggling because it's like the 3 businesses are just things that other people are making money off of, not things that are thought out to solve a problem.
Right.
Kai, supposed to be her Skims, didn't work. Sprinter, supposed to be her 818, didn't work. Perfume, supposed to be her
Ariana Grande
didn't work. Like, you can literally see she's just like, what's working for other people? How do I try that? And it's still not working. But I was looking at Sprinter because I was so curious, because I was like, what are people talking about? The first thing she posted when it went live got 600,000 likes. This is just an Instagram photo.
Okay.
Another photo she posted the same week that is an ad, like an actual advertisement for Sam Edelman, a company she doesn't even own or is a part of.
Brand, yeah.
Got 4.5 million likes. And I'm like, what is that? More than 6 times.
Yeah, that's like 20%.
And that's not even, like, she doesn't even own, that's an advertisement. Like, something she doesn't own. And I looked at even like other, like the higher performing of the photos she's done with Sprinter, 2.2 million likes, 1.5 million likes, compared to a brand deal that is getting 4.5 million likes, which like goes to show people do not care. They don't care. They're over it. And I was like, this is such a fascinating case study. And my thesis in all of this is like, yes, I think she cashed out for $600 million and she made more money than her company is worth.
She accomplished something great.
And you can say that that's like, well, she did what she wanted to do. That's iconic, blah, blah, blah. My argument is that I think her selling out her authenticity and the trust people had in her. Yeah, she made $600 million, but every business she has operated or tried to start since then has failed. And had she not sold out, and had she really cracked down and thought about like, how do I push Kylie Cosmetics to the next level? How do I make it a rare beauty? Then she would have made more than $600 million, because she would have not only had this business, but she would have kept the integrity with her audience to then maybe these vodka sodas would have been really great or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you said something so interesting when I first brought this up. Was you're like, what's interesting is not that it's flopping. What's interesting is that nobody cares.
Yeah, that's what's fascinating to me is I almost think that, and I felt this way about James Charles's paint like brand, where it's almost better if people are like, oh, I hate this product, like it left a pink stain on my eye, or I hate the yellow, color of the eyeshadow, like these viral videos of people destroying the product and hating it. That means that it's more relevant than what I think is terrifying to them is no one caring.
Nobody cares.
Like, I think that's what's interesting to me about the Kardashians right now. It's not that people are talking about the products not being good. It's that no one's talking. And what to me was the great measurement of kind of where they stand right now in the public eye. They were at the Super Bowl and they had a box. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know they were at the Super Bowl because the cameras never panned to them until I saw it on like TikTok that night.
Yeah.
They were in the box.
Yeah.
The cameras panned to Taylor Swift in her box every chance that it got.
Yeah.
The cameras never panned to them, maybe once. And they looked miserable. Like, it wasn't even so.
They probably were.
Exactly. But if it was like 5 years ago, the camera would have stayed on them.
Oh, yeah. Or even think of like 5 years ago, Kylie Jenner made any clothing company, it would have been in it everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And that is just, again, it's such an interesting thing to see. And I think also keep in mind, when I say bankrupt, I think the company, I think these people are rich beyond belief.
She's going to be fine,
and they are going to be fine. They're here to stay.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to criticize anything.
And I'm a fan of Kylie.
Yeah.
Like, I love Kylie.
Like my thesis was like, I just think it's an interesting case study of like why it's important to maintain your integrity as a business owner.
Yes.
That is really all, like, in the end of like the second you portray your craft, people are very quick to sense that out.
Yeah.
We have this sixth sense when it comes to trusting people.
Yeah.
Like, you can kind of just tell when somebody's lying to you. There's no reason, there's no explanation. And that is priceless. There is no amount of money you can ever take for it. And the second you start to sell it off, you cannot get it back.
Right.
It does not come back easily. It is so much easier to build than it is to re-get. And that is, I think, this eternal mistake. And it's interesting to see, but also something that's happening. I literally saw this on Instagram on the way here, is now Selena Gomez is in talks to sell her business for like $2 billion.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I will be interested to see, can Selena Gomez navigate something like this? Like, or maybe she doesn't sell it. Maybe she does like an IPO.
Yeah.
Like, making it a public company. Or are we going to see a Kylie effect part 2, where she sells the business that was built off of being owned and operated by.
Yeah.
And Selena Gomez is very face forward with it. She's in like every poster. I've even
always
seen
does
people
events.
hosting events, and she goes to them.
And our email's in our bio. If you need
Selena,
to fill
please,
2 seats.
please.
No, but yeah.
So like that is something that I'm interested to see how that pans out.
The difference with Selena and Kylie is that Selena has a craft to fall back on.
Yep.
This was never Selena's main thing. She's an actress through and through, and a good one. And I don't think that she needs the brand. I think that it's something that succeeded and is a great thing. But like, say Rare Beauty goes bankrupt tomorrow, Selena is an actress, and that's not going to change. And I think that's the difference. And I also think something else that's interesting that we've kind of talked about in episodes, and like, I'm not an astrology expert, but just this last month, Pluto moved into Aquarius, and it's going to be there for the next 18 years. And in 2007 or 2008 is when Pluto moved into Capricorn, which was about wealth, people getting famous from showing off money. Guess who launched their reality show the same year Pluto moved into Capricorn? The Kardashians. Guess whose empire is falling the same year Pluto moves out of Capricorn? The Kardashians. So I think that there is this shift from that exorbitant wealth, which is Capricorn is the sign of material possessions. And now Pluto's moving into Aquarius, which is the sign of technology, community. There's huge like historical events that happen when Pluto's in Aquarius. And so it's just, I think that we're seeing these celebrities that thrived on exorbitant wealth really struggle. And I think that there's just this collective energy that's shifted now.
Yep, I totally agree. And I think that's all I have to say for this episode.
No, that was great. I loved it. I mean, you never want someone to fail, especially when they have employees that rely on them.
Yeah.
So you really do hope that Kylie Cosmetics like makes it through. But I would love to sit here and be like, what can she do next? But I almost think she's done too much. I almost think she needs to go like quiet for a little bit.
She needs a purpose.
Yes.
Like she needs a Skims. Like Kim really, even as this, like reality show and stuff has dissipated, she has maintained her status through shifting the perception of her as to like Kim, the business owner. Yeah. She's an entrepreneur. She's making deals with the NBA and she's appearing at them. She's going to the White House. She's, did like the law studying thing. She has like, is very forward as like the CEO of Skims. Like she's really branding herself as this like business tycoon. Yeah. She was on the cover of GQ Man of the Year. Right. You know what I mean? Like she's trying to brand herself that way. Yeah. Which has helped her because now her craft to fall back on is business. I don't think people think of Kylie like that. Like they don't have the same perception in that way.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the Forbes retraction hurt her of having any chance to really do that. Yeah. I also think like I kind of have a prediction for just celebrity culture in general, for better, for worse. You can hate it or love it. I don't know how I feel. I think in the next decade, we're going to see more celebrities, including Kim Kardashian, run for politics. And I know that sounds crazy. I think, and I've said this since it happened, Eugene from the Try Guys, I think is gearing up to run for office in Texas because he pulled back from the Try Guys and he was on the election trail with Beto O'Rourke or something. And I think that Eugene, Kim Kardashian, I think we're going to see so many celebrities go into politics, especially with like the whole Donald Trump thing. I think we're going to see that become a huge thing in the next 10 years.
I've had this prediction. I think I'm going more than 10 years. Okay. I'm talking 2030. Okay. We are going to have one of the Paul brothers run for president. I'm talking 30 years. They're an old white man at this point.
Jojo Siwa,
they
vice
are
president.
The new Donald Trump. They are like, people know them instead of reality TV. It's internet. And they have this big audience and they're like, oh my God, they were so successful as like business owners and they built this thing. Like they know how to move people and they're going to use like the same like mantra playbook. Yeah. And it's going to be this idea of like a public figure running and it's going to be somebody who's problematic. And I think it's going to be Logan Paul.
Oh my God.
He also to me seems like somebody who has a big enough ego to want to do it just to
He would
do
like
it.
think, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and like, we don't have to get into this too, but I think it is a little terrifying when you think about how like politics are meant to be like the common man, like going into like the office and representing the people, but like celebrities
we
aren't
literally
the
live in an
man.
oligarchy.
I know, it's crazy.
The average like the average wealth of somebody in Congress? And also, have you seen like the stock trades of anybody in Congress? How
They're all buying Meta stock?
coincidentally incredibly accurate and in tune with the market. Like, yeah, I'm sure there's no fucking insider trading. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, we just bought a bunch of Meta stock and we just banned TikTok. Oh no.
Yes, literally. Anyways. Thanks, America.
Anyways. So yeah, that was
We'll
a great
end on that
episode.
note.
You did great like research and everything.
Thank you. And we have the Lana Del Rey effect coming next.
It's our first part 1, part 2 episode.
Yes, and possibly another interview will maybe revitalize the Spotify thing. I don't know. We're gonna figure it out and see.
Yes.
But we'll talk to you guys soon. See you next week.
Bye.